These days, most people think that using cell phones or computers is the primary tool for catching scammers. But this is not entirely true for two simple reasons. First, all experienced cheaters know how not to leave electronic evidence on such items. And second, the average husband or wife usually doesn't suspect their spouse of cheating, which means they have no reason to look for non-existent evidence. I know this for a fact because I myself was one of those somewhat naive cuckolds who thought my beautiful wife Lisa would never cheat on me. But the brutal truth is that I was completely wrong and must have been living with some kind of blinders on my head because I never saw or suspected the slightest indication that there were such problems in our marriage. I am Bo Eklund, a 39-year-old guy from Scandinavia working in planning and administration for a leading local construction company in our area. Lisa is 37 years old and works in the accounting department at an engineering plant. We married 13 years ago and have a 9-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter, until that awful Friday when a simple coincidence turned everything into a complete mess. I, silly dummy, thought Lisa and I had a good marriage. My problem started the previous Saturday when I had to spend a few hours at work fixing some urgent problems, and I took the whole of the following Friday off as compensation for the overtime. Of course, Lisa gave me a long to-do list to keep me busy that day, but after the kids left for school, I skipped her list and decided I'd better clean the house since we had two families over for dinner that night. After vacuuming the living room, I decided to clean the mirrors in my cocktail cabinet to make a good impression on our friends that evening. It usually held 8 bottles of malt whiskey from different distillers in Scotland and 6 crystal whiskey glasses. Much to my surprise, I saw that one of the glasses was used, whereas the day before yesterday, when I replaced a burned-out light bulb in it, it was not. It was a mystery because I never left dirty glasses in that cabinet, so it was obvious that someone must have been in my house drinking my whiskey yesterday. Lisa and I left at the same time in the morning, and I was home before her, so someone must have been drinking whiskey in the afternoon when we were both at work. But no one breaks into a house to drink a glass of whiskey, so there had to be some other explanation. First, I checked the doors, windows, and locks for signs of forced entry, then all our valuables. But nothing strange was visible, and nothing was missing. My next thought was that Lisa had been home for a short time and had been delayed with someone. But it was odd that she hadn't told me about it, unless, of course, I wasn't supposed to know anything about it. The thought of shouldn't have known struck me like lightning, and I went to the bedroom to look for clues, but found nothing there. The next step was to search the spare room, where I was surprised to find that the pillow and sheets on the bed were slightly used. This was very strange, for it had been many months since Lisa's sister had spent 2 nights here. Upon closer inspection, I found a couple of dark brown long hairs on the pillow, and a small dried stain of something in the middle of the sheet. I replaced the used sheet and pillowcase, cut the stain out of the used sheet, and threw the rest of the sheet into a garbage bag. When I took the magnifying glass to compare the hair from the spare room to the hair from Lisa's hairbrush, there was no doubt. They were the same. Lisa's sister is blonde, so it couldn't have been her hair. It was clear that someone had had sex in this bed last night, and Lisa's hair on the pillow clearly indicated her involvement. Because she had been working out at the gym last night, she hadn't had a chance to fix the bed so as not to arouse my suspicions, but I don't think she was too worried about it, because I never checked anything in the spare room. If it wasn't for that dirty glass, I'd still be a happy husband. Lisa never left a dirty glass in that place. Therefore, it was obvious that the lover had taken the whiskey without her knowledge while he was waiting for Lisa. Of course, there was no way I could pretend it was business as usual and have dinner with our friends. So I made 2 phone calls to very surprised friends, canceling the dinner. After that, I wrote a message to Lisa and left it on the kitchen table. Lisa, due to our very serious problem, I have canceled dinner with our friends and will be away for a while. Bo. Nothing much about the problem, or where I was going, or for how long. But Lisa wasn't stupid and could get some clue, at least when she found a clean sheet on the bed in the spare room. So I booked a room at a popular hotel on the Baltic coast, packed my suitcase with my clothes and laptop, put it in the car, locked the house, disconnected my cell phone, and left. At the hotel, I spent some time in the gym and pool before having dinner and spending a few hours in the bar. I turned my phone on only to download Lisa's voice and text messages. She sent me 4 voice messages and 2 text messages asking me to contact her as soon as possible. Not a word about her being sorry or pretending to understand why I left, so I had no reason to call her back. We spent most of the day on Saturday at the hotel gym and spa. After dinner, a few hours were spent at the bar, but I wasn't in the mood to have sex with a rather pretty lady who was clearly working and had made her proposal for business reasons. Sunday, around 6 o'clock in the evening, I was home again. As I entered the house, Lisa screamed, "Where the hell have you been?" as soon as she saw me. "Who is he?" I replied without raising my voice. "Who's what?" she shouted back. "The goddamn freak you brought into this house on Thursday for drinking my whiskey and sleeping with you in the spare bedroom." Now she calmed down and asked, "How can you imagine such nonsense?" "He left a dirty glass in my whiskey cabinet and his footprints on the sheet in our spare bedroom, and you left your hair on the pillow. If you refuse to tell me, I'll get the prime suspects to take a DNA test one way or another. So you'd better tell me now who he is to save some of your innocent co-workers from great humiliation." "You can't demand that innocent people give you samples of their DNA and think they'll agree to do it," she said. "I can't, but I'm sure some of my friends can, and all the innocent guys would be happy to cooperate with my friends rather than resist their friend request. It is your problem what happens to the deceiver if he proves so foolish as to disobey." Now her face turned ash gray and she cried out, "Oh, Lord! You can't let these bullies harass innocent people." "Like I said, it's up to you. Some of my friends from a childhood spent in one of the worst neighborhoods in our city used to spend half their time behind bars. And they didn't care much, because to them it was much better than being unemployed on the outside. Lisa knew it would be a trifle for them to do me this small favor. She said, "It was just an innocent one-time affair with Jerry Harrison that will never happen again. Please forgive me. Let me explain, and you don't need to overreact." "There's no reason to overreact. The only thing I'm going to do is strangle that damn asshole." She yelled at me to stop and come back, and I got out, got my car, and drove off. It took me about 10 minutes to get to Jerry's house, but Lisa had already called him, warning him of my intentions. At home was Jerry's rather gorgeous wife, Veronica, who told me that Jerry had gotten a phone call and had left the house in a hurry. When I told her the reason for my visit, she replied, "Thank you for the helpful information, and if you have any proof, Jerry will be out of this house tomorrow, and there will be no problem with that because this house is my private property." Lisa has admitted what she and Jerry did. I even have DNA from the spot on the sheet. Just give me something with Jerry's DNA on it, and I'll send it off to be analyzed. I'm sure it was Lisa's call that made him run away to escape my wrath, I replied. Veronica gave me a used handkerchief from the laundry basket and told me it belonged to Jerry. She even promised to keep me informed about what happened between her and Jerry. The next day, Monday, I went to the courthouse clerk's office to get the divorce papers, filled out all the necessary information, signed them, and asked Lisa to sign them. But she refused to do so and started crying hysterically. Later that evening, I got a call from Veronica. She told me that Jerry had been kicked out of her house after he confessed to cheating. Her well-built co-worker had moved in with her so that Jerry couldn't resort to any tricks or attempts to get back in. Lisa was not at all pleased when I told her that Jerry was a free man and she could join him the next day if she wanted. Instead, she started crying again and begged me to forgive her for what she called very regretful one-time stupidity. I started thinking about it, but before I forgave her, I wanted to clear up some issues. So I went for a long walk to think through my concerns. During the walk, Veronica called me and asked if I could do her a favor, which seemed strange to me but was obviously very important to her. 2 days later, I received a very interesting call and an audio file on my smartphone that made me set aside all intentions of getting back together with Lisa in the future. In the audio file, Jerry Harrison admitted that he had slept with Lisa Eklund about 6 times in different places, but last Thursday was the first time at her house. The first time was at a Christmas party at their work. The second time was at a seminar when Joel Nielsen joined them and had a threesome all night. After that, it was just Lisa and him in different places. when Jerry was told he could stay at his current job, but his wife wanted him to live in a neighboring town 35 kilometers away. He agreed. My friends told me that it took no more than a few seconds with a stun gun to get Jerry to cooperate on everything proposed. First, I called Veronica with the news of her longtime cheating spouse. After that, it was Lisa's turn to hear Jerry's confession. That got her to sign the divorce papers without any unnecessary arguments or explanations as to why she did what she did. Although divorce was going to be a living hell in which our innocent children would suffer, I couldn't find any other alternatives. It didn't matter how much I loved and continue to love Lisa. Her years of cheating and lying were too much of a burden for me to bear. Epilogue. 6 months later, I still felt like a pile of shit and my life was still a mess. I bought our house back from Lisa by taking out a new loan from the bank. That, and paying all those expenses with one paycheck, had a terrible effect on my economy. Even though almost all of the people involved in Lisa's cheating have lost in one way or another, I still feel like a major loser. Jerry did as he was told and bought a cheap house in a neighboring town where he lives with a divorced woman he met on some website. He still blames Lisa for his downfall, although they still work at their former jobs. They have ended their relationship and barely speak to each other. Even Joel Nielsen is a miserable loser, even though he's still married. But after I told his wife about his threesome with Lisa and Jerry, she gave him a simple choice: back off or accept the new terms. He agreed and is now a laughingstock whose wife sleeps with her boss at least one night a week, usually in his apartment, but sometimes even in Joel's bed. It is said that Joel often sleeps in a spare room or in a cheap hotel. Joel's wife even got a promotion at her job and a company car, so she's a winner who doesn't get laid for nothing. Even Jerry's ex-wife, Veronica, is a winner because this handsome co-worker never left her house, and I'm even invited to their wedding. Veronica says she got me a great date to her wedding, but I don't expect it to be anything serious. Veronica was the one who wanted to get rid of Jerry in our town and asked me if I could find a way to convince him to move. I did, and she paid my friends very well for this favor, who also gave me some very useful information about Lisa and Jerry. Lisa ended up living with Tony home in his one-bedroom apartment. Thus, she was not able to see our children every other week as had been agreed to in our joint custody agreement. Tony is a divorced, extremely jealous wife-beater, so I and several of Lisa's friends warned her about him, but she didn't listen to us. Nothing happened until Lisa got her money from our house and refused to give it to Tony. He was about to finish buying a new BMW. He got very angry and made the grave mistake of brutally beating Lisa in front of our children. Even though I left Lisa because of her infidelity, she is still the mother of my children, so anyone who has the stupidity to hurt her will not go unpunished. It was for this reason that Tony was taken to the hospital with a broken collarbone and leg, as well as an injured knee, and then he returned in a wheelchair that would serve him well for weeks into the future. While her tormentor was in the hospital, Lisa moved out of his apartment and bought her own in a much better neighborhood. Although she and I are far from friends, we at least talk about our kids now, and I'm sure she's telling the truth when she says she regrets the hell out of her cheating. What really surprised me was how quickly Veronica and Joel Nielsen's wives got new boyfriends. I believe Lisa was not the only cheating wife in this story. One of my best friends is convinced that Jerry and Joel screwed Lisa as some sort of revenge because they suspected their own wives of cheating. Who knows? If he's right, I'm the only innocent victim among all the adults involved in this story. How fair is that?